people? This is Real Charlemagne back with you with Brick City. Hey, make sure to follow me on all platforms. If that's Spotify, YouTube, that space that y'all like, love, so dearly. But yeah, make sure you follow me on all platforms. And today we have a brother from Eastern North Carolina, fellow vet, salute vet, um, is doing a lot of stuff, impacting the community. And I just want you guys to welcome Mr. Cannon. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. How you doing today, sir?
I'm great. I'm great. Tell us a little bit about yourself, brother.
Outstanding. Outstanding. Well, I'm a husband. I'm a father, and I am someone that is passionate about the work that I'm doing, which is I'm a coach and I am a keynote speaker as well.
Got you, got you. So, what got you into coaching, man? What got you into like? So, when I say coach, you mean like a life coach, correct?
Yes, my particular niche is mindset coaching, and so
Okay.
what really got me into coaching is it's a funny story. I wanted to actually be a social worker, but
Okay.
I enrolled in Federal State University and all of that. But because of life was life, and in the period of time that I enrolled within it, I was able to complete the semester. But it was so much of a load on myself and my family because the time frame was when my mother-in-law got attacked, and I didn't have the energy or the bandwidth to really dedicate to it. And so I had to take a step back. And I know that my passion, my calling is for me to be able to help people. And so
Hmm.
coaching was another way that I could do it, that I was able to get a certification. That way I have the education, that way
Right.
I could be able to help people the right way. I just don't want to be doing things off the top of my head. I know that I need
Right. Right.
structure, I need the right information. And so that's why I got into coaching because I didn't have the bandwidth or the time to
Hmm.
complete the social work prep program. And so
Right.
the next best thing for me was to hop into coaching that way that I could be as effective in what I am doing and helping people.
Got you. Got you. So you said help people, right? So let's go back. We're gonna rewind a little bit and structure. So, as initially said, you're a vet as well. So what,
Hmm.
you know, becoming a vet, was that the reasoning for you joining the military? What was your reasoning for joining the military, and what branch were you in? Let the people know a little bit about that. But was that your reasoning for helping and getting structure? Was that the reasoning, or you just had other reasoning?
Um, I think for me, and I'm gonna answer the last question first, and then
Okay.
we'll circle back to the first question. I think for me, the reason why I did it was because I have been in situations in where I didn't have the tools or the equipment or the skill set to be effective in what I was doing.
Mhm.
And so I'm an individual. Someone always told me that a smart person learns from their mistakes. A wise person learns from the mistakes of others. And
Mhm.
so I was treading that water of being smart and wise and just looking at the things that I've done wrong and just wanted to make sure that I had some enough information to be able to be effective in what I was doing. So with me, what made me join the military is because it's something that I always wanted to do.
Gotcha.
I can recall when I was younger, my great uncle passed away, and at his graveside, he was in the military,
Mhm.
and they handed his wife the folded flag.
Yeah.
They played taps, and they gave him the 21 gun salute. And
Mhm.
that moment there, that honor, that reverence, that respect is, I knew then that if at the end of life you got that, I wanted to have that in my life. And
Gotcha.
so that's one of the pivotal moments that I knew that military was what I wanted to do.
Mhm.
And I went forward into it. And so just having conversations with different individuals and like that within my life. And so I'm a National Guard and Army vet. And so that's why I went into the field that I went into because that moment in my life when I seen that reverence and that respect for somebody that I loved and adored.
Right. 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 That's awesome, man. And we all have a why moment. Why we join certain things.
Right.
And man, basic training showed me it's a, there's a lot of whys out there.
bro.
There's a lot of
Where
whys. And
where'd
look,
you go to
man,
basic at?
I was at a Fort Sill in Oklahoma,
Okay,
and
okay.
it was some
Fort
cat
Knox
that,
for me.
yeah, and it was a why. Some of the whys wasn't their whys. It was like, hey, get up out of here because you're gonna go somewhere else if you don't go to this route. And that was their why. They was like, well, I ain't really had no why. It was an option. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right,
But
right.
um, but yeah, man. So that's a blessing. And then, like I said, once again, thanks for your service. So during that time period, me being a vet as well, we endure, we see a lot, So during that time frame, what made you continue to build yourself, or what happened to make you change your mindset into serving, into wanting to help and help others? Was it an aha moment in the military, or was it just things you just a reflection of and say, hey, I need to help. I need to help coach people.
Bro, it's it's a great question, great question. And I think while you were saying that, I was just having fireworks in my mind, just different things. I think it's with me, I am not a one person. I am a typically a hybrid individual. So it's
Mhm,
normally a multiple things that influence me, and several of the things that really got me into wanting to help people was number one was my grandmother, my dad's mother. Well,
mhm,
actually, both of my grandmothers.
mhm.
My dad's mom, she reared over 30, possibly 40 foster kids
Wow.
throughout her life.
Right.
And my mom's mom, she was a registered nurse up
Mhm,
in DC, and then she did the RN thing over here in Caswell. And
mhm,
so, just looking throughout my family, my father is a pastor, and so just being around people who have always been selfless in their service of other people, I think that that has always been a model and a mode around the reasons why I choose to help people. And then for me, the pivotal reason why I joined the National Guard was because they was the one that helped us.
mhm,
In 1999, when Hurricane Floyd came, the
mhm,
National Guard were the people that was there in Tick Bite that was putting people on the back of 5 tons, that was
mhm.
putting people on the back of deuce and a halves, that was
Wow.
helping people move from this natural disaster to safety. And
Mhm.
so serving people and helping people, that is just, I think that it is wired into my DNA and in my purpose to help people. And I
Gotcha.
just had to find my way of doing
Yeah.
it.
Tick bite. Let, let,
Yeah,
let,
it
let, let,
might.
let, 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 let's harp with that 1 second, right? So listen,
Ah,
I was traveling one day going south on Highway 11 headed towards Kinston, headed I think I was headed towards Myrtle Beach. And I was like, hey, I was telling I think it was my kids, I was like, y'all ever heard of Tick Bite? It was like, there ain't no place like that. I was like, there's a sign right there. What does that say? And it was Tick Bite. It was like, this don't exist, man. So can you explain people about that community real quick, man? Because I know a few people from there. And North Carolina has some unusual names when it comes to little crossroads of towns. But look, tell people where the Tick Bite is located. Geographically.
man.
Geographically.
I don't even know if that was a subtle jab or what, but
Nah.
Tip Bite is definitely not on the scale of G Vegas, Greenville at all, but it is located in between Greenville and Kinston. And it's actually just a little mile long strip of road. There
Mm.
is no road lights, there is no sheriff, there is no nothing. It's just a 1 mile stretch of road, and it's right off Highway 11, as you were saying. And so, just a small community, rural community, um, somewhat connected with your neighbors and things of that nature, like that. But everybody, we just kind of lived in the areas. We had our houses and different things of that nature, like that, and we had our connections with folks that was around there.
Good, good.
We did have one store, and that was the Curve store. So
Curve
before you
story.
came in the big light, that little curve right there, it
Right.
was a little store sat down there, they served cold drinks, and it was a dead end on the other end. So I think like the old folks used to call them hole in the walls. That was
Hmm.
a hole in
Hmm.
the wall little town. You know, you go in one way, got to come out
Come
that
back the
same
same
way.
way. Hey, look, nah, man, ain't no jab, man. But like I said, it's interesting, the individuals, man. It's like those little small communities, the catalyst to the larger communities. A lot of
Mm,
people don't realize that. They without those communities, the large communities can't strive. They can't
mm,
continue to grow because, you had to go somewhere, like you said, you had a corner store, but you would go into the town of Kinston, or Greenville, and your dollars was spent in those towns, because y'all was ready, just like me, I grew up in a small town, just ready to get out of that small town and see something different. When you go to that town,
right,
you're gonna drop some cash, you know what I'm saying?
right,
Like the
right.
old folks used to say, go to town. We going to town today.
Facts.
But yeah, man, look, I had it hard on that for a second, man. But but yeah, so I know you just said it's in your DNA, it's helping, and you discussed about being a hybrid, adjusting to your conditions and your environments. And is that something that you feel that allow you to help individuals in tight situations and continue to help you now in your business structure, your business model with the mindset, just helping being able to adjust and adapt in these situations.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that connects to something that you said previously when you was mentioning about the individuals and basic training. You realize once you go from these small sectors, these small pockets of wherever you grew up in, and then you get placed in a whole new environment, whole new city, whole new base with a whole bunch of individuals that you don't have well, I mean, you have some things in common, like your human levels and different
Yeah.
things of that nature like that. But as far as environment, things of that nature like that, they're totally separate. And for me, I think that coming from that area and being involved with individuals that I didn't know, but still you are trained to become a cohesive unit and a cohesive team to take care of a mission and agenda. I
Hmm.
think that for me, that's what really helped me to hone in on who I was in that hybridness because
Hmm.
it helped me to embrace my own identity, but it also helped me to realize that this small pocket and corner of the world that I was exposed to
Hmm.
is maybe like a drop in the water in comparison to everything else that's out there. And so it really helped me to be able to have conversations with people, and it really helped me sharpen my empathy and my level of being aware of, like, some of the things that we were taught, some of the things that we grew up with, they might not work here. And so you have to really
Right.
sharpen up your listening skills and
Right.
being able to adapt, adjust so that you can advance forward in the direction that you need to go into.
Hmm. That's awesome. So your time in the military, were you ever deployed or did you see the combat during that time?
Yeah. I deployed to Iraq, '03 to '04.
Hmm.
And that trip across the pond was a trip across the pond, and I'm glad I'm back on this side of the pond.
Understandable. Salute to you on that and making it back, and like I said, now, you know, it's it's the tough part of transitioning back. How was that transitioning? Because like I said, I was in the combat MOS as well, and I never went to combat, but I spent a lot of time in what we call the field. And if listeners don't understand the field, look, they call it field problem for a reason, right? And it's a problem. But and just coming back from those couple of months, you deployed on a field problem, 4 or 5 months, and like I said, you're training. But training and actual being in combat, definitely two different things. So coming back from those engagements, how was that transitioning back to your home life with your family?
I think that anyone who goes to combat never comes back the same.
Hmm.
And it was difficult for me because I felt extremely disconnected from the people in my family and the people that were still here.
Hmm.
We lost four people in our tour, and it felt to me as if my life was on pause and in that green duffel bag while everybody else was advancing and enjoying life. And I didn't have a connection to them
Hmm.
because of that time period that I had been gone. Not necessarily saying that it got severed, but it wasn't as strong as it needed to be. And so for me, it was a real tough transition for me.
Hmm.
And I didn't do a lot of opening up to people. And I did a lot of self-medicating and coping that
Hmm.
wasn't necessarily beneficial for me. But, the things that we do during those periods of time, like I said before, a smart person learns from their mistakes, a
Right.
wise person learns from the mistakes of others. And so I
Okay.
had to make those transitions, but it's extremely difficult.
Hmm. So what was the breaking point on the, not want to harp on the self-medication portion. However, what was the breaking point? You said, hey, this isn't going the right way. I need to, I don't know what you did to break that situation of the self-medication. What did you, so when was it and what was the breaking point for you to transition away from the self-medication and actually saying, hey, I need some help?
Hmm, that's a deep question. And for me, um, it was several instances, but I didn't learn my lesson. And
Gotcha.
so, and I think that sometimes what we avoid, it continues to be there until we choose to address it.
Right.
And so for me, I had suicide attempts
Hmm.
and I would never open up about it.
Hmm.
And then after the last situation that I write about in my book, I ended up fracturing my pinky knuckle, which is called a boxer's fracture. So now when I make a fist, I don't have three knuckles. I don't
Hmm.
have four knuckles. I only have three
Oh,
because
wow.
I ended up getting a severe boxer's fracture.
Wow.
And we went through a PHA, and there was a captain in there, and he seen my hand in a cast, and he asked me what happened. And people had been asking me what happened for weeks after my hand was in cast, and I was just telling them it was life.
Mm.
I never go into what was going on. And that was real, real deflective and it worked for them.
Right.
But he told me, he said that if that's life, you got to live life better. And so
Mm.
he pulled me to the side and he started asking me questions and everything. And I just opened up that duffel bag, bro. And
Right.
when I opened up that duffel bag, he got me connected to behavioral health. And ever since then, my life it's been turning. And so that's when I got exposed to therapy,
Hmm.
and really, really locked in and got keyed in into it. And that's what really made things really turn around for me because I'm absolutely certain that if that captain hadn't noticed what was going on with me, I would probably be three places. Either
Hmm.
I'd be in prison,
Hmm.
either I'd be in a mental institution,
Hmm.
or I'd be dead. And
Wow.
so I'm so thankful for that captain that tapped in and recognized what was going on beyond that I'm okay or whatever it
Hmm.
is, that surface level thing.
Got you. Got you. Man, that's a blessing. So look, we both grew up in the South, right?
Right.
And and you know, just grew up in the South. Every Sunday, what we doing?
We sitting in somebody's pew.
Look, I didn't even have to say. I just said what we doing, right?
We sitting in
And
somebody's pew. We clapping them hands.
right. And we getting the word, and you know, not touching on your faith by any means,
Mhm.
but what deterred you, or what kept you from actually seeking therapy and trying to do this on your own? Was it your upbringing? Is just saying, hey, deal with it, get through it yourself, or was it, just self pride, just like, Man, I ain't even talking to nobody, or you just didn't know. Which one of those three was it?
I think again, it's coming back to that hybridness of me. It was all
Hmm.
three of those, and then some additional things because one, we didn't have these conversations surrounding mental health when we
Right.
were coming up as young men. We didn't see
Hmm.
men having open dialogue about therapy and about the things that they were going through.
Right.
So most men, some of them fought it out.
Hmm.
Some men partied it out. Some men tried to pray it away. Some men
Right.
tried to do certain things. And a lot of those things that we saw, those models that I saw, I tried to implement those into my life and it didn't work for me.
Right.
And, and the being ashamed of what was going on in here because I really didn't want people to know what was going on because I felt as if I had a persona or a label to maintain, and
Hmm.
you don't want to appear to have these things going on when you got these battles going on inside. And
Right.
so here it is, me, active in church, speaking to churches and different things. And I don't want people didn't want. Let me phrase that better.
Right.
I
Right.
didn't want people to know that this was an issue for me because of pride that was in the way.
Hmm.
And a lot of times when pride and ego is in the way, it will cause you to damage yourself while trying to look good for other people.
Right.
And so I didn't want people to find that out. Didn't want people to look at me different. And so I just, like you said, I tried to stuff it down and figure it out how I can do it on my own.
Hmm.
But the fact of the matter is, sometimes we have to realize that our limits, our knowledge is limited. And
Hmm.
when we realize that our knowledge is limited, the wise thing to do is to ask for help or to look at things a little bit differently. And I'll say this and I wrap it up is like, for me, I thought something was really wrong with me because I couldn't pray everything away. I was like, these things that are going on, these flashbacks, these nightmares, these things that was happening in my life, these
Right.
anxiety attacks and everything else like that, I couldn't pray it away. And so I
Hmm.
thought it was something flawed in me. But
Right.
I realized that, some of the techniques that there are more techniques out here that are beneficial. And so I got exposed to those, and that's the things that really started changing for me in my life.
Got you. Like you said, that's a sermon within itself.
Mm,
I said because like I said, man, we grew up in the South, and sometimes it's like take it to the altar, and
mhm,
and that take it to the altar is good, but you need some additional guidance, throughout the week, the days, the nights, when you up 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and you like, who ain't nobody else there with you. You know what I'm saying? You need that guidance, And like I said, man, it's one of the things I run into, just talking to individuals from the South. It's like, you know, um, when do you get to that point you go to therapy and talk to somebody? You know what I'm saying? Because I went to that point too. I had to go to therapy. And it was just like, understanding like, hey, I'm battling depression. Don't even know it. You know what I'm saying? Everybody, look at me, oh, he's happy, da da da. But I'm like, tore up inside. But like I said, we learn to adjust and adapt and show the facade that we are, you know, we these superhuman individuals. And the military doesn't help. Because if you already have a strong demeanor, and the military adds on to that. And look, ain't nothing against my veteran buddies, but here's the thing: a lot of people say, "Oh, the military made Joker crazy." I said, "No, it just enhanced it." He already went in off the chain. It just enhanced it. You know what I'm saying? And because, like I said, that training is repetitive. It's instilled. I can still remember my chant from basic training right now because it it was instilled from me. It was instilled. You know what I'm saying? And the repetitiveness of that, the way they teach you things, it's supposed to be stuck with you the rest of your life. And a lot of people don't get that, and especially civilian side, they don't understand the structure and just the dynamics of what you go through. Just on the training level, look, don't even put the combat aspect of it. You know what I'm saying? just getting through that first initiation is a tough thing. But look, we'll go on that tangent on another day. But yeah, man. But I'm glad you saw the light and saw the issues, and I'm glad that Captain saw it in you. You know, because you know a large percentage of us people see things in us that we don't see in ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Because we self we self-serve, and then sometimes we get so caught up in self-serving, which means serving others to hide who we really are sometimes, that people see, oh well, yeah, you hurting, man, you need to slow down, you need to do da da da. I hear it all the time, but sometimes I'll be like, man, I just got to keep pushing, you know what I'm saying, but not realizing that's your therapy. It's helping others. It's helping others, and that's your therapy. But pushing forward, brother. So you went through the therapy, getting out, you transitioning to civilian life. In a civilian life, how is that transitioning back to civilian life looking for you during that time? After, like I said, you went through behavioral health and all that stuff. How's the civilian life transitioning? And then getting into your business and your social life after the military.
Wow. That's interesting because I'm still in that transition really, really. But for
Hmm.
me, that was different because um in my situation, which is completely different from everybody else that I even know, for me, that, once I started retiring from the military and everything else like that, it went from me having a mission for Uncle Sam to me having a mission for my family.
Right.
And during that time, my retirement process and everything, I ended up retiring in 2020.
Hmm.
My mother-in-law was attacked January 1st, 2020.
Oh
And
wow.
so it went from me weaving my stitch in the banner of America's freedom to me focusing on helping my family get through the darkest moments of our life.
Hmm.
And I really didn't have time to really switch hats in the transition. It was just, you got to do what you got to do. And so I think that for me, as I reflect and look back on therapy, if I had not have went through that process of unpacking the things that I had packed down for over a decade,
Mm.
if I hadn't went through that process of processing the pain, processing all of that type of things that was going on in here,
Hmm.
I I am I'm certain that I would not have been able to sustain and to be the individual for my family during that dark series of my life. And I think
Hmm.
that for me, therapy was preparation. I had to deal with my problem, to prepare for
Hmm.
the next problem that was coming up. And
Mm.
so it gave me the mindset to be able to be present for my family, to be present for my wife, and just all of that right there. And so, yeah, and I think that that is what helped me to be able to withstand everything that we've been
Mm.
enduring. And so, yeah, that's been my transition,
The
bro.
transition. Yeah,
Yep.
not those of you that's listening into the audio, but I see you have a shirt on, you know, in representation. Is that your mother-in-law that you have the shirt
Yep.
on for? And
Yes. Hashtag Ned put me strong.
yeah, can you just briefly explain? Because I know you mentioned it twice about your mother-in-law being attacked.
Yeah.
Just briefly, just tell the people what happened to your mother-in-law on that bad day, and I remember when it happened.
Okay. January 2nd, 2020, my mother-in-law was going to a restaurant in Kinston to get herself and my father-in-law a meal after she just finished walking a mile. And she was attacked with an aluminum baseball bat. The individual struck her multiple times, and what we believe, she was 72 at the time of the attack.
Hmm.
And what we believe is that the individual was attempting to carjack her. She fought off the attacker, and she kept the bat. And as a result of that assault, she sustained a severe TBI. And for those of you who don't know what a TBI is, that's a traumatic brain injury. And because of that traumatic brain injury, this once vibrant, articulate member, pillar of the community, server of the community, someone who was the executive director of a daycare in Kinston. She went from being a minister and serving in all of these capacities to requiring 24-hour care. And if you don't know what 24-hour care is, that means she can't feed herself. She can't do, she's not verbal, she's immobile, and she requires assistance for everything that we take for granted in life.
Wow.
And so this happened 5 years ago,
Hmm.
and the individuals still haven't been caught.
Mm.
The individuals still haven't been caught.
Wow.
And that's something we have to live with every day.
Right.
And so yeah, and that's her story. And so we our family, we do fundraisers once, twice a year to help us with her in-home care.
Hmm.
And we're we're being resilient in the midst of everything that has been going on.
Gotcha. Yeah, man. I'm praying for you guys, man. Like I said, for her health and you guys' strength as well. Going through this, man. I couldn't imagine, the just what from both sides, from the violent side of it, and then like I said, now to making sure this person lives the best quality of life they can while they're still with us in the physical. You know what I mean? And that's two different things because I'm sure you're going through a array of emotions. The anger, but the love. You know what I'm saying? And it's like you balance and try to it's a balancing out. But yeah, like I said, man, pray for you guys and I like I said, man, this is an empathetic moment because I never had it happen, to someone in my family, and I think that sometimes people don't understand the difference. That's why you were important coaching, because some people say, man, it's tough, man. I couldn't imagine, I bet it's, but I'm like, nah, I'm saying I can't imagine because I never been through it. So that's the empathy moment, and instead of sympathizing with you, I gotta empathize with you, man, because I couldn't even fathom. I don't want to even. It just angers me to even just think about it. You know what I mean? And hats off to you guys and continue to do that. And you got any fundraisers coming up that you wanna tell about or anything real quick while we going?
Our last annual fundraiser was the walkathon, and that was back in April.
Okay.
But we were working on planning some things, some logistic things, things of that nature like that. But we definitely keep everybody updated. And
Okay.
we just ask everybody, just to continue to keep us in your prayers and your thoughts because we realize that it has been nothing but God's grace that has
Right.
sustained us through this and has brought us and her this far. And we know that we're going to need it as we begin to keep on moving and journeying forward.
Right. Oh, while we just talking about how to connect, tell the people how to connect with you real quick. While we're about to look a little bit over halfway mark. Tell people how to
Mm.
connect with you real quick. On social
You
media.
can find me on right now, but the primary platform that I'm most active on is on Facebook, which is you can find me under Tah'Ron Cannon, which is TAHRONCANNON. You can look my business up, Committed to Progressing Forward. That is up there as well under that name. And on all other platforms, it is CTPF Cannon. That is Charlie Tango Papa Foxtrot Cannon on all platforms. Yeah, that was the phonetic spelling.
Phonetic spelling. Phonetic spelling. I spell phonetically.
I spell phonetically. That way my messaging is
Yeah,
clear.
you get it. It's clear. Understood. But
Roger
yeah,
that.
man.
Tenfold.
But yeah, man. Look, I appreciate that moment, man. Look, we need a good laugh after that little moment, man.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's transition to the business. How'd you get started in the business?
Wow. How did I get started in business? To me, for that, business is something that I always wanted to do.
Okay.
Entrepreneurship is something that has really been something that has interested me. I have multiple entrepreneurs in my family. I don't know if you're familiar with Cannon's Men's Shop in Wilson. I don't know if you're
Mhm.
familiar with Top Bottom and Souls in Kinston. All of those individuals are my family. Personal
Oh,
Touch Car Wash in Griffin. Yes, sir. I see you moving. What's up?
oh, look, nah. That used to be so. They used to have one in Greenville
Mm-hmm.
before they tore down the old mall. My,
Mm-hmm.
my grandma, that was her favorite spot for my school clothes because I was always a big boy, you know. Look, so we couldn't find the Husky clothes, but we'd go to Candace Men's shop to find me some clothes to start back to school, and so I'd be fly a little bit for that first day
Yep.
of school outfit.
Yep. That first day of school, that was
So
classic, boy. That
yeah.
almost set
Well, look,
that
so I
set
didn't
the
know that
tone
was
for the
your
rest of the
family.
year.
And look, so when she watching this, she gonna start laughing because she used to take me over there, buy my pants and my stuff because I was always a little husky joker when I was growing up. So she used to tell me over there buy me the men's clothes, right? And
Hmm.
she was a seamstress, so she knew how to sew. So she would sew, look, hem my pants up, stuff like that for me. But I was over there getting the grown people clothes and like you said, the cost was reasonable. And look, they had
Hmm.
that layaway going on too. I remember the layaway. They
Bro,
had that layaway.
listen, my cousin, bro, that layaway, man, that right there, you
Hey,
pay a little bit, little bit, little bit, little
hey,
bit.
bro,
Bring
by
it
the
on
time,
home when you,
hey, look, they would let you switch it out if you grew a little bit.
yep. And
But
they'll
yeah,
wait to him until you went to
yeah,
pick it up.
yeah, man. That was like I said, that small world, man. I remember your family. Look, I remember the shop. Like I said, it was right over there beside the. It was in the corner beside the movie theater, right there in the mall over there. Look, the little strip mall part of the Carolina East Mall.
Hmm. On the
Small world.
side.
But yeah,
Yep,
man,
that's
that's
my
awesome.
cousin Grove. Go
Okay.
ahead.
No, that's awesome, man. Look, I didn't realize that was part of your family as well.
Yes,
But yeah,
sir.
man, that's awesome, bro. But yeah, so entrepreneurship was a part, and then so you just kept on the family tradition, huh?
Yeah, and and this is another side piece too. And so one of the guys that I met when I was on Fort Bragg working, he I ended up getting out before him. And so we would have conversations about entrepreneurship, just thinking about our contribution to Uncle Sam. It was like, listen, if we're going to be contributing to these folks making this money, how can we start thinking about how can we make it beneficial for us? And so,
Mhm.
just some of those conversations that we were having back in that small arms room, it really transitioned out for me on this other side because I think that I spent so much of my time following orders from somebody else. And
Mhm.
it's like, how can I start living my life and put myself in a position in which that I can not have a cap
Mhm.
and that I
Mhm.
can begin to be effective in what it is that I'm doing. And so just about service. And I think that whatever way, I think that we have been created to connect, contribute, and also to collaborate.
Mhm.
And I think that entrepreneurship and how we do things, I think that that is the masterful way for us to act out our purpose.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So what was your first business you started? Was the coaching business your first business, or did you start something
My
initially?
first business,
Look, everybody
the
do a press
first
about your
business,
business there.
the
No,
first,
I'm just messing.
that's hilarious. My first business venture is with my business partner, Knight, and we have a online firearm company, and we also teach concealed carry courses. And
Okay.
so he has his level 5 or 4 FFL, which is he is able to import and export weapons from all over the world.
Okay.
And so we do that, and we also teach concealed carry. And so that's something that has been near and dear to my heart for a long time because I believe that not only is it our Second Amendment right to be able to bear arms,
Hmm.
but we also should have a level of training and expertise in what it is that we're doing so that we can do this confidently and safely so that we can protect ourselves and the people that we love.
Right.
And so for me, I think that just because we can have something, we should also be educated in the proper means of handling things. And
Mhm.
so that was my first business. He asked me to come alongside of him and assist him in that portion of it. And
Mhm.
we've been doing that. We started out in 2001. That's when he approached me with it. And we went through, got all the training, UFCCA certified instructors, went
Okay.
through the North Carolina General Instructors course and everything else like that. And
Wow.
doing certifications nationally and state level. And we just been rocking and rolling ever since, bro.
Congratulations. Congratulations. So coming full circle. So you so you teach people how to protect themselves, right? With the weapon, but then you teach people how to protect themselves what mentally, right? So what's the next
Yes,
difference you
sir.
want to talk about?
Yes, sir. That's the coaching and keynote speaking. And so that's I think that that is most important to me because I think that in order for us to be effective in life, we have to have this portion of our life clear because
Hmm.
change, any type of transformation, it always starts in the head. And for me, the way that I've been trained in my coaching model is head, heart, hands. If I
Hmm.
can get your head out first, everything else is going to follow behind it. And
Hmm.
so helping people to develop the mindsets and just being able to be that bridge. And I think that for me, my mission, my goal, my outcome, and everything that I'm doing is to be the bridge to help people break cycles, to build confidence, and to bridge that gap between where they are currently
Hmm.
and where they're created to be. And so that's why I do what I do, bro.
Got you, got you, got you. So what population you serve? Do you have a specific age group or gender or what? Who do you try to serve, and who who do you tend to work with best and get the best results with?
Absolutely. And for me, I work with veterans, I work with leaders, and I work with men. Those are my target demographic: veterans, leaders, and men.
Hmm.
But most of the folks that I deal with are between the ages of 26 and 60, and men and women, and just helping. I work with folks that are committed to making a change. You know, I'm
Hmm.
not the guy. If I need to rev you up and get you started and create your fire, I'm not that guy. But if you have a goal or agenda or outcome that you're looking to get to, I'm the one to help you build that mindset so that you can figure out your mission, so you can get that momentum heading towards where you need to get to.
Okay, okay, okay. Well, today, who is what was your most difficult client? What was their mission was, and they was just the most resistant to your way of teaching.
My most difficult client is today myself.
Got you.
My most difficult client today is myself because I
Right,
think that there's a lot of things that I'm still learning, and I'm realizing that life is a journey of learning. And
right.
I think that me breaking down a lot of the internal resistance and the limitations that I've been having through the things that I'm learning,
Mhm.
because I believe that when we begin to transform as individuals, then we can be the most impactful for those we are serving. And so, me, it's just me because a lot of times the conversations I have in my head are the most important ones.
You're right,
And a
right.
lot of times being able to challenge those conversations and those things in my head. And so for me, it's all about learning how to master my mindset so I can help others do the same thing to get them where they need to be as well.
Right, right, right. And I look, and I totally agree, man. Like I said, if you you work in this space, because I work in this space too with coaching, and you'd be like, I need to implement. I'm gonna implement this on my own. You'd
You
be like,
already know it, bro.
you'd be like, it's me. You'd be looking
Mm,
at, you'd be talking to your client, you'd be like, oh, it's me
right.
right here. So let me do a self assessment. Look, we gotta do the real ourselves here sometime, man. And
That's good.
I'm glad
And
you
it's like,
said that. Yeah, I'm glad you said
yeah.
that.
And it's like, for me, it's like I had to come to the point where you start doing all the preaching, you start
Hmm.
practicing.
Hmm.
And I think that a lot of people they get accustomed with giving advice, giving advice, but they're not really applying that advice in their own life. And you
Right.
can look at people, and I'm sure there's several individuals that we've seen that we know it's like, man, you told me not to do that, but you're doing the same stuff too.
Hmm.
And you know what I mean? It end up backfiring on you. And so it's just like, okay, I need to really, really niche down. And the most important work that we ever do is on ourselves.
Right.
The most important investment that we'll ever make is on ourselves. The most important growth And the most important thing that we'll ever build is us as being individuals. And
Hmm.
so for me, doing that self-work, because I believe that the work that you do behind the scenes qualifies you to be seen when you're on the scene.
Right.
And so that's just where I'm at. And I believe in integrity and just building off of that right there. And
Hmm.
so that's what I work at. And that's it, bro.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Yeah, you just spoke a mouthful, man. Because I was an individual. I preferred to be behind the scenes, off the radar. Just let me be. You know what I'm saying? And then it's like someone broke it down to me one day. And was like, you know, if you grow and get a platform and start getting streams flowing, you can help more people. If you want to help, you can't really help, because you start to dig too much into your own pockets to try to help individuals. So why not create platforms? Why not create businesses that you could generate revenue, and then able to help more people and communicate with more people from that aspect. Because we probably would have never met if someone didn't know I had a platform for you to be on. You know what I'm saying? Because but if I was still like, hey man, I'm good. I'm gonna stay back in the shadows. Look, you go for it. You go for it. This right here wouldn't even have taken place. You know what I'm saying? And we gotta get out of that mindset of, like you said, just staying stuck where you are, because it goes back, to the original, the statement I said earlier. Some people see more in you, you see yourself, and then they see what you're doing. They're like, man, you need to go ahead and go. And then look, what we say, nah, bro, I don't want that stoplight, all that light, you don't want that shine. We quick to say that, but not realizing we dumbing ourselves down for no reason. Why you dumb yourself down? I don't want that. And you block your blessings by saying, I don't want that. Somebody say, I don't want to win the lottery. Why not? Why not?
Bro, you just dropped so many jewels in that. And I think that that wow, that connects to what I was saying before about, we're here to connect, create, and contribute.
Mhm.
And I think that that's the benefit of community because when
Right.
we have community, community helps us to see things that we can't see. And
Right.
a great way that I like to frame that when I'm speaking with people is to be our blind spots. When
Hmm.
when we look at our life, when we look at our vision, we most of us have 180 degrees that we can see from side, but we can't see what's going on
Mm-mm.
behind our ears. And so, just like when we were young, your grandmother or your mother used to ask you, "Did you clean behind your ears?" And so that's the blind spot that you often miss. And so,
Yeah.
having community, these people that can see the spots in our life that we're blind to,
Blocks it.
they're
Right.
able to help us to see things that we don't see. And when they help us, and not only some people will help us correct those things,
Hmm.
but then there's going to be some other people that's going to contribute to us helping other people as well. And
Right.
so that's the benefit of community because where I'm weak at, somebody else is strong at.
Hmm.
And I believe that God didn't empty all of his essence into one person. He gave each and every one of us a part of him. And
Hmm.
so that's why we're interdependent. And interdependent means that we need each other in order for us to map out and for us to be most effective that we need to be in our life. And
For
so
sure.
that's the value of community, bro.
Yeah.
So much in community, and I believe in it wholeheartedly.
Yeah. 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 So look, so we did the prelude. We about to talk about the grand finale here. So where you at now, man? We got a celebration coming up, and
Mm,
already started. The celebration already started. So
mm.
so let's chop it up about what you just released and what you got in your hand.
Bro, yeah, 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 yeah. And so the release is my book. It will be out June 22nd. It will be available on Amazon via ebook. About to start working in the lab to do the audio version as well. But my book, Committed, the mindset, tap into the mindset that fuels progression, will be available June 22nd. And I'm thrilled. I'm ecstatic to have my work, to have it completed, and to be able to offer and contribute something to society.
Wow. That's awesome, bro. Congratulations. Look, capping up for you. This is so
Appreciate it.
this is your first book for your first
Yes.
piece of literature, man. That's awesome, man. And look, that heart is just like do 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 do. And look, I've been there. I've been there. So look, I can sympathize with you on this. Look, we went for empathy, now we sympathize. So so
Wow.
look, I mean, you know what, man? So look, I'm gonna put this is your floor right now. So what type of emotions did you have writing this book? What type of emotions you had writing this book? Because people don't, that's not authors, they don't realize the type of roller coaster sometimes that you endure. So tell the people about it, about just the right process.
Well, I think you articulated very well, and when you said a roller coaster, and that's something that my editor, she told me that it was going to be something I was going to experience. She told me that it's going to be very cathartic. It's going to be some things that I've suppressed, things that I've forgotten about in the writing process. And for me, my emotions were everywhere. And I think
Mm,
for one of the reasons why they were everywhere, because I think that I wrote to the version of myself that needed the most help.
got you.
And I wanted to be able to help other people not make the same mistakes that I made within my life.
Right.
And so that was just all over the place and just rehashing and just coming up with things. And I think that it was all over. And I believe to me that emotions is how we identify the things that we need to be focusing in on. And
Hmm.
so, what I mean by that is, whatever we have an emotional response to within our life, that's something we need to pay attention to. And so, for me, being able to pay attention to my own emotional cues and things of that nature gave me the ability that I feel to be able to speak to individuals, like I said, that veteran, that leader, that
Hmm.
male, whatever situation that you're in, just based off of, because emotions is the thing that we all have in common. One of the things that we all have in common is
Yes.
emotion.
His emotions. You're definitely true. Look, that's actual factual.
Mm.
Look, actual factual because, like I said, every being you have some form of emotion. It's just it's the suppressed on some individuals and elevated on some. So it's there, but it's just how it's explored. Out to people that that's what people see. You know what I'm saying? They might say, "Oh, you're emotionless." No, I'm not emotionless. It's internal. But then, look, and that's the thing. People say you're emotionless, but then don't realize that internal emotion could be just as drastic as that person that it just comes straight out. You know what I'm saying? Because that internal emotion, it builds up sometimes. And then next thing you know, it becomes a volcano. And
So good. That's so good, bro. And it's like
yeah,
that pressure, and it's going to erupt.
it's gonna erupt. But yeah, brother.
It's gonna
But
erupt.
tell people how to search your book for the 22nd.
Okay.
That's in what, a couple more days, man. Look, we
Yeah,
coming
yeah,
up on it
January
quick.
20. Yeah, man, it's happening. It's happening faster than I anticipated.
Yeah.
But you, when you log on to Amazon, open up your Amazon app, just type in committed, tap into the mindset that fuels progression, or you can just and it's going to populate. You can also, I have created a website or a web page that you can order from me directly. It is subscribepage.io/committed book. And so you can get it from me directly. And I'll say that again slower. Subscribe page, which is one word, .io/committed book. And those of you who pre-order from me before the 22nd, you will get an autographed copy, and I will ship that to you personally. And
Uh-oh.
so it's just something that I really believe in, and it's the mindset that I developed during and after therapy that has helped me become and to maintain during the multiple seasons of my life.
Got you. Man, I appreciate this conversation with you, bro. And tell the people how to reach you one more time and then we about to get up out of here. Tell them how to reach you.
Okay, on social media, on Facebook, you can find me at Tah'Ron Cannon. That's TahronCannon. You can follow my book, my business page, which is Committed to Progressing Forward. That's also on Facebook, on all other social media platforms. That's Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Those are the ones that I'm starting to apply my attention to and building. It is CTPF Cannon. That is Charlie Tango Pa Foxtrot Cannon.
Cannon.
And just let me know however where you see me, what the connection is, and we just love to connect and just to have conversations with you. And thank you again, my brother, for this platform. And
Yeah.
I love what it is that you're doing because
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, we ain't done
you
here, man.
build
I
it.
got one more thing for you, because
Okay.
all my guests, right? And just
So
we got to drop something at the end, man. So I'm glad you're drinking some water. So talking to your, so you just expressed we harped on it earlier jokingly talking about tick bike, right? So talk to a 17-year-old kid from Tick Bite, North Carolina, right now that's transitioning out of high school with no direction. Don't they don't have any direction right now. They just think Tick Bite is the life for them. Have a conversation with that kid and just sum up what would you talk to that kid about and how would you try to redirect his mindset real quick.
wow, that's real. That's real. I think for me, I would let that individual, young man, young woman, I would let them know that, all of these questions, all of those things that people have been asking you ever since you were little, what do you want to be in life? What do you want to do in life? Now you're at the intersection of where you may have graduated high school, you may have your adult equivalency, or whatever it is that you may have. But now this is where the rubber meets the road. You may have got that cap and gown, and a lot of times people celebrate the ceremony, but they don't tell you about the consistency that is required afterwards. So I want to let you know is you've gotten to this point. Congratulations. But in order for you to get to those next points, you have to have a plan. Just don't drift through life. Just don't think things are going to come to you just because you're connected to some people or because you believe in a higher power or because that your family is connected. No, it's going to take your hard work and it's going to take your effort. Whatever is inside of you has been placed in you for a reason. What thrills you? What drives you? What lights you up? What can you do that brings joy to you that other people may struggle into? When you find that thing, I want you to tap into that thing. And I want you to figure out how can you use that to be of service to other people. For me, I found out that my voice and my ability to communicate is my thing. I'm able to relate messages to people, and I have met wonderful people doing this type of deal. What is your thing? What is it in you that you can do naturally? Maybe it's math, maybe it's science, maybe it's comedy, maybe it's your imagination, maybe you can draw. Whatever it is that you can do phenomenally, do that, tap into that, because at the intersection of passion and skill, you're going to find your purpose. Find your purpose, execute that purpose, because there are people out there waiting on you, and you got something in you, and it's called potential. But in order for you to tap into that potential and for you to get from where you are to where you want to be, you're going to have to be committed. And I need you to tap into that committed and purchase my book, Committed. Tap into the mindset that fuels progression.
That's it. Hey, the cash app is W. Nah. Look, instead of passing the plate, we're gonna pass the cash app. Hey, look, man, it's been fun, bro. We're gonna have to do it again. And I look forward to much success to you and connecting with you. And make sure you give me an autographed copy as well. We're gonna have to link up. Like I said, we're gonna have to link up for lunch one day and exchange books and autographs and all this good stuff, man, and chop it up. But like I said, once again, man, look, appreciate you, much success. And look, y'all make sure y'all go to Amazon and check them out. While you're on Amazon, check out my podcast as well. It's Brick City on all platforms. If you can't find me, put in the Real Charlemagne, Charlemagne McCarter. Hey, look, until next time, people, make sure you follow me. This is the Real Charlemagne signing off.
The
Peace.
real Charlemagne.
Holla.